Welcome to the Creating with Beauty podcast, where God's love and beauty flow through our hearts and hands with peace and intention. Here you'll find honest conversations, inspiring stories, and gentle invitations to create with the beauty and wonder already in your life. Beauty is both a gift and an invitation, leading us down a sacred path with Jesus.
So blown away that God loves me so much that he gives me something that I love and asks me to invite him there. And I want other women to know that truth and that space.
Welcome everybody today to the Creating with Beauty podcast. Today I have my guest, Kim Pepper, and I'm so excited to have her on and share some of her story and her creativity, and also talk about how God has used her to create this amazingly beautiful creative faith community with her Creative Faith Club and her courses and everything that she's gathering and putting together. And it's just such a blessing to have her on. So hello, Kim, and would you like to introduce yourself?
I think you just did it. I'm Kim Pepper. That's it. I don't know. We'll get into it, but
we'll get into it.
Yes,
you're welcome.
We'll get into it. That's pretty much it.
Okay. So I know that you used to be like you've been online for a long time, and you had like a different aspect of your online business and your creativity. And so what was that about? Like, how did that lead you to where you are now?
Yeah, so I've been online for probably over 11 years now, I guess, maybe. And when I started with a blog, and it was very much a God thing. I don't like to write. I'm not a writer. And so I thought that was funny that he was like, you're going to do a blog. And I'd never even read one. But it was more home decor and DIY. And I really just did it. I usually say as accountability partner to kind of get ideas out of my head. And long story, my ex-husband and I had a business together, and we'd sold it, and he went on and worked, and the kids were at school, and I kind of went through this depression and didn't have anything to do with myself. And that's where God gave me the blog, and I felt very called to it. So I did that for years. And then in 2020, went through a divorce. Blindsided, had been married for 20 years. And it was just a really dark place. And so I kind of started dabbling just in art, I guess, in a way, faith journaling. And I didn't even know that's what it was. And I kind of just did that for me and for myself, and found it to be really therapeutic and helped me through a lot of processing in that time and just having time with God. And so as time moved and healing kind of started, I ended up getting remarried. And when I moved, I just felt like my whole business, I just felt a shift. And so I felt like God was like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to completely shift gears. And so that's kind of where I just fell into wanting to go back into faith art journaling, but this time for more positive reasons. And so I just started it, and I was kind of looking for people online to follow and learn from. And I really, really had a hard time finding people that I liked and wanted to learn from that were also Christians. Like I had a couple people start doing things like, well, I'm a witch and different stuff like that. And I was like, no, I mean, to each his own, but that's just not what I wanted to do and follow. And so I just really felt God pushed me to be like, well, you can create that space if it's not there. So I kind of shifted gears, and then here I am.
Good for you. I know, I will say, I think just from my outside perspective, looking at you and what you do online and your business, and I think that, I mean, I don't know the art, like your actual art that you create. Like I know you do art journaling, but I have not seen. You're too busy posting your art journal pages, I'm sure. Like I've seen a few that you've done, but so let's look at this, like your personal creativity and what that is like.
Huh?
Let's talk about that for a second. What do you do for yourself personally, creatively, to draw closer to the Lord?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because I was doing stuff, and I was even starting to do more of it online and kind of shifting gears without really knowing I was shifting gears. And I had this moment about like, well, are you really creative? Are you really an artist? Because artist isn't really, I don't know, it's not a word I would use for myself. I'm creative. Mm-hmm. But are you really a faith journaler? Are you a mixed media person? Like, what are you? And so I found that I was in this space where I was really good at collecting ideas and Pinterest boards and supplies and but not doing. And I think anytime that you want to be something, there's a point where you have to, like, the rubber has to hit the road. You have to do it. And so I kind of took like a month off, really, and I created every day just for myself. And I didn't share anything. I just sat for at least an hour or so a day, just me and paper, paint, different mediums, trying to see what I liked, what I was good at. Was I good at it? Could I do this? Did I just think I could do it? Was I just saving ideas but really didn't have any of my own? And that was where I really gained a lot of confidence, just kind of putting blinders on and going into it with just me and God, which is where it all started. And so I think for me, anytime that I need to pour out, it has to be like a private thing that I'm not trying to do to show someone or teach someone. And sometimes I'll do it and then I'll share it, but that's not my purpose in doing it, if that makes sense. So
Right.
for me, it kind of all goes down to purpose. Like, what am I sitting down to do today? Am I sitting down because I'm going to teach a lesson? Or am I sitting down to fill my heart and my soul? So those are the quiet times that I try to carve out, and I go in waves, if I'm being honest. Like, sometimes I do it every single day, and sometimes that's once a week.
Mhm.
It depends, but just to have, a lot of times what I'll do is um just kind of like Bible roulette. I'll just open the Bible and read a little bit and then take something and then create from that. Just see what God has, what do you have for me today, Lord? And just
Right.
open and go. And that's kind of the best practice I have. That's for me personally.
Right. Right.
It's any good, but that's what I do.
No, that's perfect. It has to be whatever you do for you and draws you closer to the Lord. That's what's the most important thing. And
Yeah,
so
I think
then,
anytime you try to put a checklist on it, like, I'm going to do this every single day, like, that's where the wheels fall off for me. I cannot keep up
mhm,
with that. And then you miss a day and you feel like a failure and you don't go back to it. So you just kind of have to ebb and flow and be okay with that. Or at least I think that you do.
I
That's,
agree, and have grace, right? Like you
yeah,
said, so you missed a day. It's not the end of the world. But for some reason, I do this. I'll be like, well, you missed a day, so you're not any good at this.
you're
Like,
awful. You're awful. You failed. You failed. No, I do that
right?
too. You have to, like, then you have to psych yourself back up, and yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I think the answer is having to psych ourselves up, right? Like having to be like,
Mhm.
okay, like, yeah, instead of just doing.
Yeah.
So one thing that I do see you doing, and we've kind of talked about this before in another time, but I see you, um, a part of your creativity is gathering people and
Hmm.
then sharing them in your world. And I love how you have started. I think you told me you like collecting people. So, and I thought that was just the cutest thing. And like, so you're finding people and now you've found people that you like what they're sharing and you're inviting them into this world and you're creating this beautiful space for others to then lean into the Lord through creativity in whatever ways that looks like. Was that, I think you kind of mentioned this, but did you have doubt when you were putting that together?
Yes. So, I came from this different world of DIY and home decor, and there were some collaborative things there. But if I'm being honest, I had that, I think I had a little bit of a scarcity mentality. Like, I don't want to overlap audiences because I'll lose people. They'll like them better. It was very fearful for me. And I
Mm,
don't know why. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why I lived in that space. But I felt very much whenever I came over into this space to be collaborative, like, it was just something that I can only say that God put on my heart. I don't know.
mm,
I just felt really collaborative. And I was terrified because I'm new to this space. I've been online, but this space is, somewhat new. And so I was like, these people are going to think I'm crazy when I invite them to come. Faith Fest was the first collaborative thing I did in 2025, so last year. And I thought, I'm going to send these emails to these people, and they're going to be like, who's this girl? And they're going to say no. And I was terrified, terrified. And I got some no's. I mean, I got no's. Some people didn't respond, but I prayed over it, and I was like, let the right yeses be yeses and the right no's be no's. And
Yeah.
um, from that, I just really realized how much I enjoyed collaborating and helping people. And I don't think I knew that about myself as so much. I would
Mhm.
say hospitality is one of my gifts. I love to host and have people, and it comes very naturally and easily to me, like in my home and stuff. But I never considered this online space as a place to host people until like last year maybe. And so I don't know, it's just really, really fun for me to learn about people. And there's so many talented people. I mean, there's so many amazing women that have stuff to share. And I say it all the time. I am rarely, if ever, the most talented person in the room, but I can bring people together. And there's a lot of women who don't have their own platform, or maybe don't even want to have their own platform, or would love to teach or have courses, but don't, want to invest and do all the stuff that you have to do behind the scenes, and the websites you have to have, and all the organization that goes into
Mhm.
it. And so I love being that space for those people to be able to share what they have, because they have something really important to share. So that has just been a journey that I didn't see coming in the last year, that has been really, really beautiful and just fun, a fun part of my job. So
Right.
I'm really,
Yeah.
really thankful that I said yes, because I was terrified. Absolutely. And even this year, when I kind of did the invitations for this year, I'd already had 1 year under my belt, and I still was like, oh, they're going to all think I'm a fluke. What if nobody comes back this year? What if this is awful? I have all of that stuff, all of it, all of
I appreciate your sincere honesty because you see somebody like you're doing this successfully, and then to hear that, like, and I don't wish that you had those things. I wish that you didn't, but
it.
it's like, but it's, I love how you're pushing through. You're doing what you feel God has called you to do, and you're opening the doors for other people to also do. And I think there's strength in numbers,
Yeah,
right?
it
And
really
so
is.
to have this beautiful community that you're creating in this faith-based art world is, it's a gift, and I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have this one, I've said this before. A long, long time ago, I took a like a coaching class on, it was on writing, which I told you I don't like, and I cannot remember the teacher's name. I really wish I could. But I remember her saying, um, she was talking kind of about that scarcity mentality. And she was like, in ministry, it's funny because we shouldn't compete with each other. I mean, it's ministry. Like,
Mhm.
we shouldn't be like, no, I'm the only one who can. It's dumb, but we do it. And she said, the thing about it is people think that God has this pie that only has so many pieces, but the truth is that God's pie is infinite. And there are, enough slices to go around for everybody. And I have to really remind myself of that, because the pie's just better when you share it, and there's plenty for everyone. There's enough to go around. And just, I don't know, sometimes just one little sentence or one little thing is what sticks with you from a whole, podcast or
Right.
teaching or something like that. And that one is something that has stuck with me and really honestly keeps me going. Like, okay, God's pie is infinite. It's okay to share. It's okay to, put yourself out there. There's something for everybody. And that's, you gotta have like something like that to cling to, I think, sometimes.
Right. Absolutely. What early spark do you recognize in yourself today?
Like from my childhood, you mean?
Sure.
I was always into art classes when I was little. My mom let me take, all the art classes. Art was always my favorite subject. Um, I just always liked art. I mean, I did it all the way through high school, but I think I always, and I'll still say this sometimes, like I'm really, really creative, and I'm a good person at like put me in a room with some stuff and tell me to figure something out and I can do it. That kind of thing. You know that scene from, what is it, Apollo 13, Houston, we have a problem. And they're
Mhm.
like, okay, they're stuck in the air and they only have some pantyhose and a something, and they've got to do an air filtration system. Do you know what scene I'm talking about? I'm like, I could
Yes.
do that. I could be in that room. I could make that happen. So I can make things work, but sometimes the just a out of the blue idea was a struggle for me when I was younger. So like I
Hmm.
could do what you told me to do, but I wasn't good at coming up with it on my own. Or if you gave me some parameters, I could follow them kind of thing. And I think that probably stifled me as a little bit as I was younger. But I mean, I've always just been drawn to drawing and painting and being creative in some facet or another.
Hmm.
So, and then of course life hits and children and things that all that kind of sometimes gets brushed under the rug. And then I don't know, I feel like I'm back on the other end of life and the kids are getting older and it reemerges. So it's like sparking back, it's coming back and it's fun.
Yeah, and you have the time for yourself to do that now, and then bless and encourage other people to do the same,
Yeah. I wish
right?
it wouldn't get lost in the middle though. I just feel like it gets so lost in the middle for so many people. Um,
Hmm.
your career or your kids or your, whatever, XYZ, fill in the blank. Um, and I think we bury a really important part of ourselves over a lot of those things sometimes in life.
Well, in society too, art is like an extra, like in school, and then also too, we're kind of taught to think that a lot of times, at least in my generation, I think, art was like being able to draw. Like when I think of art, I think of being able to draw. It's just like from when I was a kid. I know it's a way bigger spectrum than that, but I'm not going to sit down, and I cannot, maybe if I tried and if I wanted to try and learn, I could sit down and draw something, realistically, but that's just not even in my wheelhouse to do. So, or that I want to do that abstractly, sure, or whatever. But if you don't, it's like if you don't see that or you don't feel that, then you think you're not an artist or you're not creative.
Hmm. Hmm.
And there's this whole world of creativity that God has for us to tap into, and not just paintbrushes and pencils and markers, but whatever creativity looks like for you
Yeah.
that draws you closer to him through the process. And so for you, when you were drawing and when you draw and paint, is there anything that you like to do? Like any subject or any favorite medium?
Um, it's funny because I look back on the stuff like my mom has some of my childhood stuff still hanging in the house, and I did oil painting, did some watercolor,
Mhm.
and I loved it all then. Now I'm very much not a perfectionist, and
Mhm.
so that type of art is very. I just don't have patience. My patience is that of like a 2-year-old. I don't know. So for me, anything I can do quick, finish in a day. I really I like mixed media. I do tend to like to dabble with watercolors, and like acrylics, um,
Mhm.
the most, but just that whole cut and paste of mixed media journaling is really fun for me. It feels very free. Feels like you can't mess up. Um,
Mhm.
and if it doesn't look good, you just keep going and it'll come out in the end. So I do miss kind of like drawing a little bit, but I just don't find myself having the mental capacity or time to want to sit and be that detailed. So if I do it, it's going to be a really loose, sort of
Yeah.
abstract kind of.
So you like the process?
I like the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm finding I like the process too. I
Like you
just love the
said, most people
process.
don't, that's never been, it's not really valuable, quote unquote, in this world. Art's an optional, it's an optional class. If they're going to get rid of a class in school, it's going to be, art or music. And they put math and science and sports even all above the
Mhm.
arts. And so when you do that, it just sort of really brings a struggle for people who are artistic to feel like what they do isn't worthy across the board. It just does.
Right. And then too, though, knowing that we're created in God's image and He is a creator, that creativity is what draws us closer to Him, no matter what it is, no matter what form of creativity we're doing. If we're baking bread and taking it to a neighbor, if we're gathering people, if we're picking up a camera, whatever it is,
Yeah.
if we're seeking Him in the process, it's going to draw Him closer. And even sometimes when we're not seeking Him in the process, and then He will just surprise us with whatever,
I love
right? I love that
that.
too. I do. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's amazing to be able to experience those things. And again, though, I have to say, I love how you are bringing everybody together in a way that allows people to share their stories through their classes and everything on your platform, and just inviting everybody in. A lot of work behind the scenes and a lot of things that you need to be doing and wear 20 bazillion hats in order to do it. But really, you're doing a good thing.
Thank you.
And I think,
It is a lot behind the scenes, but it is fun. It's enjoy it.
when did your creative life move from a hobby to a calling?
Well, I would say for sure it was I turned 40, so I'm 51 now.
Okay.
So I started my blog on my 40th birthday, and that was when I had kind of been working with my then husband and raising kids. We have three kids, and um that was when I kind of found my self in this place of like I don't know what to do next, and I had stopped working, and
Mm.
I felt God call me to do this, to be creative, but it was always a faith-filled thing. It always had a faith intertwined with that creativity, but that even then, I guess it was kind of still a hobby. Um, I was like, oh, if I can make some money, that'll be fun. We can use it for, I don't know, vacations or, whatever. So I made a little bit of money, but then whenever I went through divorce, I mean, life just changed, and I had to full on start working, to support my
Mhm.
family. And so that was in 2020, good old
Okay.
2020, that I I was making money before then, but it wasn't a dependency on it. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
I had some income before that, but that's when I really had to do the deal,
Yeah.
enter this space. And even then, I had an online store. I sold women's clothing and home decor, and I had a membership group. It was the group that it is now, but it looked different. It was called something different. And these sweet women, not all of them, but a lot of them have stayed with me over the years. And they've gone from home decor and to faith journaling. And they've been on the journey with me, and they're so great. And it wasn't for everybody. And some people have left. But anyway, so that was kind of really the turning point of hobby to business. And then when I got remarried and moved, that was even another turning point of this is what my business was for survival, into this is what I want my business to be. And I felt a really clear path from God. I mean, I had a clear path then, but it was more a survival path, I guess, if
Mhm.
that makes sense. And
Right.
then this was more of a, I could see the long term of
Yes.
it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yes. Right.
Yeah. So it's been a lot in the last, 5, 6 years, but
Sure.
I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be and on the path I'm supposed to be on, and that feels really good.
Good.
But I mean, for anybody who hears that, I'm 11 years in. I mean, it can take a minute.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And you're constantly, life happens, you're constant, and then you yourself are constantly growing and changing through life, and then through your, whatever your creativity is, and through your faith. And right. It's just always, I don't think we ever completely arrive. We're always on a journey,
Yeah. I
right?
don't know if that's exhausting or exciting, but
I'm totally with you. I think though,
but
like right now you're in this pattern of, and hopefully you stay here. You're in this pattern of, I see where I'm going now, and I see the long haul, the long picture here for what
yeah,
God is doing. And that's the only thing you can do.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean,
Is right, is to just be like,
yeah.
this is where God
God's
has me
been
right now.
so faithful to be like, okay, what's the next step? And he just kind of lays it out. And so, like, okay, here we go.
Okay.
We'll
Right,
do it.
here we go. What do you think God is forming in you right now through creativity?
A couple things. I would say patience. It's not my virtue. And it's something I really struggle with. And I feel him kind of constantly telling me to just slow down,
Mm.
be patient with other people, Be patient with yourself, be patient with your business. Like, just calm down, you know,
Hmm.
calm down. Um, and actually this year in our group, the word we don't it's not always a word, but it's a word this year that we're doing the year of linger. And because that's what I've been feeling since the middle of last year. God telling you to just kind of stop and savor the details of life and the things around you. And a lot of that has to do with nature. Like, when did you really just sit and listen, close your eyes and listen to what's around you? And did you really pay attention deeply to what it feels like to sit in the cold for a few minutes and push yourself outside of like your comfort zone? Those are like different things that we're exploring in our group this year. And um, I rush through everything. I'm always in a hurry. And he is telling me to slow down and linger and savor. Like, those are words that I keep hearing: linger, savor, relationships, people, beauty, details, all those things around you. And so I feel like that's really where my focus has been in the last probably, I don't know, 6 or 8 months.
Okay. I have written here one of the questions for you, which is interesting. You brought up linger, but it was, what role does lament play in your art and creativity? So for you to say the things that you just did, and then for that to be like, that's literally the next question I have, is what does lament have? And I have to say, I could lament a lot more than I do, right? Just so it's just interesting that you have been able to notice those things for yourself and be like, okay, I'm going to pause. I'm going to linger. I'm going to
Well,
make myself do
doesn't
this.
mean I'm always doing it, but it's all that's
Right.
what I feel like my goal is. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just, I think sometimes when I really stop and this last week has been a really good example of really what you focus on is what grows. And Faith Fest is ending this week as we're talking, and I can sit and linger on the good, or I can sit and linger on the bad. And there was really not that much good, but some of the stuff just, you can't make everybody happy, and people have login issues and this issue and stuff like that. And I have a hard time of letting those literally handful of things get me down when there is buckets fulls of goodness. And so
Mhm.
I have just really had to daily be like, okay, God, help me here. That's where my
Mhm.
patient comes in. It's like, let me just be patient. Let me see the good. Let me linger on the good results and the good remarks and the kind words and all of that. But, um, that's kind of a lament process for me too. In there, it's just to just confess, like, help me let this go. Help me see
Mhm.
the good and see what I have instead of, what I don't have, or the positive instead of the negative. I mean, that's just kind of, that's where
And
I feel like I really am right now, for sure.
and for whatever reason, I don't know why this is. It's our human nature in some way, I guess. And I know that God knows this, but it's the one or two things that are kind of a thorn that take away from the whole flower. And like really trying to focus on the bloom instead of the thorns, right? But it's, for whatever reason, the thorn is a pain. It's just like, and I'm just, I'm speaking in a broad stroke right there, like not in specifically
Yeah.
to the everyday issues that you're having with like logins or whatever, but just as humans, we so easily do that. And God's
Well, I
like,
mean,
look
it's
at the
like Paul
flower.
talks about the thorn in his side, and I love the fact that he never really reveals what that thorn is, so that I feel like
Yeah,
that's, we can all put ourselves in that
yeah,
space, and not be like, oh, well, that was his problem. That's not mine. But we all have that thorn, but he just does it so beautifully. He's like, I have it, but I'm just, whatever. We're just going to keep going.
yes,
I know it's there. It's not going anywhere. And I'm going to choose to take the good from it. And,
Mhm.
it's such a good and challenging example.
Yeah. And letting the rest fall off. I call divine design the attributes, the wholeness that God put in your DNA to draw you closer to Him through making, through the things you love creating, and the things that come naturally to you. I think we kind of talked about this a little bit, but besides the things that we've talked about, I want to give you the opportunity. Are there other things that you feel are part of your divine design attributes or your gifts that God's placed within you?
And I think those are, the main sums of my better giftings is kind of that gathering organizational type thing, which is so funny because I'm always this much off. I'm always forgetting something, but overall I'm really organized, but I always I always leave the oven on, stupid stuff. But my husband's like, "Are we still cooking something?" And I'm like, "No, we're not." But anyway, I think the biggest thing I have to say about that is that I can remember, and this was years ago, and this has ebbed and flowed in my life, but this was probably 15 years ago, maybe. I remember almost it wasn't a out loud voice, but it was almost like it was. It was so loud in my head. I was just walking around my house and I was just doing some chore things, and I had a friend who had asked me to do something, and I'd kind of been saying no and no, and it was a ministry kind of thing. And it was like clear as day. I heard God say, "You have something to offer." And I was like, "I do. I have something to offer. I have something to offer." And I was kind of like shocked by this, word that like him saying this. And I walked around going, I think I have something to offer. And so I called her and I said, "Okay, I'll do it." And she was like, "What? You've been saying no?" And I was like, "I don't know. I have something to offer." And so I did that and it was great. I say that to go back into now where we are. When all this kind of started, this creativity for me, it took me a minute to be able to say out loud, "I'm good at this." I don't think many of us will actually say that about ourselves. And I don't mean I'm better than you at it. I just mean I'm decent at this. I'm okay at this. And the place where that came to me to feel confident enough to say, "I'm good at gathering people. I am very creative," um, was when I invited God in. And that's when it becomes like not an arrogant thing. It's not about me because it's not. I'm not good
Right.
at these things. I'm good because this is what God's poured into me. This is what He's asked me to pour out. This is where He's showed up in my life and asked me to show up in my life. And once you can get to that place, being able to say, "I'm good at this" or "I'm good at that," it's easy because it's not about you. And so those only
Mm.
times that I've had that kind of confidence in my life about saying, I'm okay at this, I can do this, is when I put it all on him and not me. And I don't think that really answers your question, but that's how I would answer that
No.
question. Like, I'm really not that great at anything, but I am when I turn it over and show up where he asks me to. And those are kind of the places where he's asking me right now. So that's where I am.
That's great. That's amazing. Because some of what you've just said, I have thought to myself, Melanie, are you making this about you? Whatever it is, or are you making this
Yeah.
about God? Right? That's like that's something I've actually just thought this last week about something. And it's a good check. So you saying, sharing that story is just perfect timing.
I mean, I really don't know what I could just walk around saying I'm great at on my
Yeah.
own free
Right.
will. Because I
Right.
mean, I just fail miserably daily.
Right.
I mean, ask my kids how much stuff I forget. They'll tell you, you know. Um,
Ask
but
my kids.
ask my kids that, that's who you should interview. They have different things to say. When you finally hit that point where you realize like God, inviting God into everything is what makes all the difference. All the difference.
So do you have a practice or a routine or something that you do that keeps you aligned with God's heart?
Um, I don't have a physical practice that does. I go in ebb and flow. I think like I said, I have a really bad attention span. So for me, I can do something for a week or two and then I'm like, me, on to the next. The
Hmm.
one thing that I do pretty much all the time is prayer. I feel like I'm always just talking to God. We're just talking a lot. And that's where because I am kind of like flit and flutter and have that like that's why whenever I do something with my hands art, it's always a prayer because that's when I can really be busy with my hands, but my mind's just talking to God. And that's
Hmm.
where the beauty is in all of it, I think. But I would say prayer is the one thing that really, really changed my life. I was not raised in the church necessarily, and just part of my testimony was it's a long story, but I had been asked to be in women's leadership and I did not know what I was doing. I was a newbie. I was a baby in all of that. And this group of women that I was with, they sat in circles, knees together, like 5 to 8 people, and they would sit in a circle and bow our heads and do communal prayer. And I remember the first time that I did that. And the first few weeks of being in that circle, I couldn't even speak. I was sobbing so hard because I did not know women prayed like that. I mean, it literally will bring me to tears just to think about it. Like I can remember it was like yesterday. We were in this church and where we met, and it was like on the highway. And I remember thinking, do those people out there on the highway know that there's women in here praying like this? Like, do they even know that this happens? Like, this is amazing. I can't, like, I felt like that church must just have been glowing up to heaven. Like, it was so mind blowing to me. And I think ever since then, the power of prayer is just what does it for me. And I will never forget that. I will never I mean, those women didn't even know what they were doing. They were just doing what they do, but it raised me up in as a
Hmm.
baby in the church kind of. And it was amazing. And so that's part of what we do in my group. I pray with them every week
Hmm.
because prayer is huge. And you know, there's Bible verses that are like, pray and don't let anybody see you pray. But the truth is, guys, sometimes we don't. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't even know you could do it. And so I want to show people that. I want to share that with them because it was probably just one of the biggest life-changing things for me. And so prayer is still just you can do it anywhere. You don't need supplies, you don't need anything. You could be driving or running or waiting in line for school or the checkout line at the grocery store. I mean, like you could do it anywhere. So it's the one thing that we all have that we can all do all the time, anywhere, anytime, any place. Nobody can take it from you, and there's no wrong way to do it. It's really my favorite thing.
Praying without ceasing.
Yep.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
do love how you have that in your group every week.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's
a
my
beautiful constant. It's a moment of like, okay, yeah, I do love that. I love that you've taken that story and that time in your life and you've incorporated it into, this online world now and allowing it to bless and encourage other people.
I don't know if it does or not, but it did me all those years ago, and so it's just what I do.
Right,
Yep. Carry it forward.
right. Thank you for sharing such a beautiful part of your story
Thank you.
and prayer. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Where do you feel joy leading you in your faith and in your life and in your creativity right now?
Where do I feel joy leading me?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm being honest, I've been in a really dry place, so joy has not
Mm.
been on the forefront in the last couple months.
Okay.
Not that I just said how content I was. It's not like there's something going on in my life. I've just in my spiritual walk been in a
Mhm.
really weird dry place that I can't put my finger on and have been trying to work through. I think that um just different stages in life and different things, and it has just made me like I've had questions and I've been a little angry and things like that with God, and which is not bad. And I always say, he's a big boy, he can take it. So
Oh, God
um
can totally handle our anger.
yeah.
He
Yeah.
gave us anger. He totally knows
Yeah.
what can come from our anger, and the key is to take it to him, obviously. And I guess
Yeah.
let me clarify too that joy, I don't mean necessarily mean like the happy go lucky aspect of joy. Sure, that can be there, but also the joy of the Lord is your strength.
Yeah, I would say that the thing that's happened the most to me lately is that in this dryness, I still know that I'm never alone and
Yeah.
that he can handle it. And that feels really good. And sometimes when things in the world just feel really hard or ugly, or I'm just tired of, whatever, it's just so hopeful to know that it won't be forever and that this is just a blip, and that I'm not walking this path alone and
Right.
that it's okay. There's the mountains and the valleys, and I think I've really been okay with that. Like it's really weird that I feel in this sort of dry desert and I feel really okay about it. Like that
Well,
doesn't
but you
even
also have had you've had a pretty intense 6 years.
Yeah,
You've had a
there
lot of life changes in 6 years. So
yeah.
at this point, it just might. And then I know there's always talk about your nervous system, and this is something I'm learning to respect at this point in my life. But like your nervous system could be in this stage of what do I do now? This,
Yeah,
I've
I
been
think
there,
that
right?
honestly, like when the calm comes, it's like you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. And then you feel like because you're so used to hanging on for dear life that
Yeah.
then when you kind of reach a point where you don't have to, and you're like, well, wait a minute, what am I doing here? Why am I not,
hmm
yeah,
No,
it's
I have
like
felt that way. Like you just wait for the other shoe to drop kind of thing. And that
yeah,
is no way to live. And that's not how
no,
what we're called to do. And I know that. So yeah, I think I've just been battling that a little bit. Like sometimes in the last couple months, it's just been odd. I can't explain it. But I'm not worried about it. I mean, I think it's all
no,
good. It'll all bear
absolutely.
fruit eventually. And I think that's one of the things that really holds joy for me. I think anytime I'm struggling, I look back and I look at what I've walked through already in my life. Not that it's my life's any better or worse than anybody else's, but like he didn't drop me then, he's not going to drop me now. It's just,
Right.
when you look backwards, you can see his hand so clearly. It just gives
Mhm.
me like, okay, we're just in this season. We're going to do it. We're going to
Mhm.
walk through it and it's going to be okay because it always has been. And I do not expect that it's going to be any different this time. So
Right.
just kind of trusting and
Right.
walking.
So what story or truth do you hope your art and creativity whispers out into the world?
I think that one of the biggest impacts for me with creativity that I hope spreads and people get to understand and recognize is that um, what I said earlier, when you invite God into everything, everything is better. And I've said this before that I feel like humans live men probably are worse than women, but I recognize it in myself that we kind of live with these silos or buckets, whatever you like, here's work, here, I'm a wife here, I'm a mom here, I've got Bible study here, I've got, whatever you do, pickleball over here, and then I have my creativity over here and God's over here. And it's like when you just put God into all those buckets, everything is better. But a lot of times we just don't think that God wants to be in our creativity and I don't play pickleball, so I don't even know why I'm saying that, but God doesn't, is there room for God in pickleball? Yes, absolutely. There is. Actually, I played pickleball this weekend for the first time with my son
Okay.
because they had a mom's weekend thing and it was a pickleball tournament. We totally lost in the first round, but it was really fun. And anyway, I guess that's why pickleball's in my mind. But I really think I just so kept everything separate so much. And when my heart was so broken, I literally was sitting down with a devotional book and I had time because it was COVID. And so we were all in lockdown. And, you're supposed to read this little devotion and write a reflection on it. And I I don't like to write. And my words were ugly. And that's when I just started drawing my thoughts instead of writing them. And I just
Mm.
found myself actually spending time on the devotion page. And then I actually found myself, I finished the entire devotion book, which I've never done in my life because my attention span's this big. And that's when I was like, I think there might be something to this. Like I did this because I did it the way that makes sense to me. And I feel so blown away that God loves me so much that he gives me something that I love and asks me to invite him there. And I want
Mm.
other women to know that truth and that space, that wherever, it's just like you said, if you're in your kitchen and you're baking and that's where the world falls quiet and you and the Lord just talk as you're stirring, or it's pickleball. Maybe you're at pickleball and while you're hitting that ball, you just are praying. Whatever it is for you, sewing, knitting, needle pointing. I just don't think I got that direct correlation before all of this. And so I moved out of that devotional book into, like an altered book, an old book. And it just was a really, really sweet spot. And I want to invite people into that. And I hear from so many women, a couple things. Number one, wow, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could put those two things together. And I'm like, I know, I didn't know that either, but you can. And it's amazing. And then I hear so many people when you talk about what holds you back, they're insecure that someone's going to judge them, that their artwork's not going to be enough, or that their time is going to be wasted. And
Mm.
I I just want all those things to go away. I think um it's just not true. And God is like not asking you to paint the Mona Lisa and put it in a museum. I mean, some people are called to do that, but it's okay if you're not. He just wants to spend time with you. And then, a lot of people struggle with time, like what, I don't have time to go do that. And my challenge to that is, okay, well, if you looked at your husband or your kids or whoever in your life and said, hey, I'm going to go in the other room for 15 minutes and I'm going to pray, would anybody say no? Would anybody
Mm.
tell you, no, you can't? That's a waste of time. No, they wouldn't. So why is it wrong for you to go into your craft room and paint for 15 minutes as prayer? It's not, and I just never looked at it that way before. Um, and I think the classic thing that happens a lot too is people are like, oh, well, you're good at that. You should sell that. You're so good at that. You should teach that. You should, whatever, take whatever you're good at. And that's so sweet and it's kind. And some people are called to do that. But at the same time, it also diminishes what you do because it's saying, well, if you don't sell it, if you don't put a price tag on it, if you don't earn something from it, it's not worth your time. It's only worth it if you make money from it. I mean, that is exactly why I picked the verse that was in Faith Fest this year about the woman who poured out her, expensive perfume on Jesus, and people were criticizing her and saying, why did she do that? We could have sold that. We could have made all this money from it. And it's not what it's about. It's not what it's about. And so I think those are all things that I want people to know as truths in their life.
Hmm.
Find carve these different times that maybe they can have a different relationship with God than they've had maybe previously, um,
Hmm.
and give themselves permission to have it in the way that works for them. And just because it's not the way somebody else does it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. So
Right, right. Great perspectives. And I love how you pulled those three things out. And, and true, oh, it's only worthy if you're going to sell it or make money from it. Furthest from the truth. What fills your creative well of inspiration?
kind of like, where do I get my inspiration from?
Hmm.
Mm, a couple of places, I guess. I love nature. I mean, I love to be outside, but most of all, I love to thrift. I
Oh,
love to go thrift shopping. I love garage sales. I love flea markets, that kind of thing, like Round Top here I'm in Texas, so Round Top's a big deal. And anytime I go to somewhere like that, I feel like I don't know, it just kind of reinvigorates my creativity for whatever reason. It makes me want to go home and do a bunch of stuff. Um, but I also think I find a lot. I went to Italy last year and was for a creative art retreat with Laura McCullough. She's great, Art and Faith Creative Retreats. And that was the whole neat story. But anyway, I ended up getting to go last summer, and we did a lot of looking at sort of landscapes, I guess, almost like because we were on Lake Como in Italy, and so you're on the water and you can look back and see the whole scene, or even when you're on one shore, you can see across to the other. And there was lots of drawings, and I found that I am not as big into like the big picture. I like the small details, like to do a
Oh.
rubbing or just the like color palettes. This is, I think, where maybe my love of color palettes started coming. Um, and so those kind of things, like really kind of finding what you're interested in, when you,
Mhm.
because I was struggling, like drawing some of the stuff that people were drawing. I was like, this isn't working for me. Like, I'm not feeling this. But then I found when I would narrow it down to something really like a small detail, that it was really good for me. And so that was really something fun to learn about myself, that I really prefer to find the little intricacies of things, and like the little patterns and
Mhm.
textures. Um, those interest me more than anything. So I find a lot of creativity in that.
That is just so amazing to hear that like you were in Italy and I love that. I love this part of your story. That's what I'm saying. Like I love that the rubbings or the tiny details were what really spoke to you versus like the big picture, like the big landscapes and the fact that you say well, that really wasn't working for me, but I did find what was working for me. Like being in tune to what you need to nourish yourself and to draw closer to the Lord and to not feel less than because, you maybe didn't feel like painting the landscapes that day, but you still had a
Yeah.
full, beautiful experience.
Well, I had a
Um,
minute where I struggled because I was like, why is this not working for me? Like, I don't feel good at this. I don't feel interested. I mean, it was a struggle, and I had to stop, and I actually had to kind of like walk away for the day, and I had to kind of regroup and say, what am I interested in? And so, yeah, it was hard though. It
mhm.
was a struggle. It's
And
good to
two,
figure out about yourself. So
yeah,
anyway,
no, you're good. And two, also, I mean, I just feel like your nervous system doesn't know what to do with itself in some ways because of all of just so much information, right? So you're there and you want to take it all in and that's probably slightly overwhelming and
yeah,
and that can be the case and you don't want to miss anything and right and all of that but
yeah,
that's like I'm talking about this because that's how we are in life and yes you had a beautiful opportunity in a beautiful place but even in our everyday life we can like get overwhelmed by the big picture and honing in on the smaller details. I was talking about this earlier today in another episode where it was like God's in the details. He's even in the details of the dragonfly wings, or the iridescence of the colors, or the pattern in a rock, or all of those
it's
things.
amazing. It really
Yes,
is.
right. And so for those of us that have a harder time taking in the full scope, or maybe it's overwhelming because of whatever, those small details are where he
This
will.
is this is funny. This is what's on my desk right now. My husband found this in our garage, and it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but he knows I love stuff like this. This is where I love the colors and the patterns and the textures, but this is like a moth that was
Nice.
dead in our garage. Isn't it gorgeous?
What kind of moth is that?
I have no idea, but I'm so in love with it. And he brought it to me. He's like, "Do you want this? I think you would want this." And I was like, I want that."
Yes, I want that.
Anyway, I haven't decided what I'm doing with it, but I want to draw from that. I just haven't sat and done it. But yeah, I think that's where that linger comes in, like really just there's so much beauty just all around us. But I feel like he's calling me into the not the
Mhm.
big picture, but the patterns on a leaf, the colors in a moth's wings, like those things are really so yummy.
So yummy. Based on your experiences, what are three things listeners can do today to lean into Jesus through creativity? What are 3 suggestions you have?
I think you have to do what works for you. So, a lot of times what that means to me is putting blinders on. Like we want to scroll, we want to be on Pinterest, we want to do
Mm.
Instagram, but all it does is put so much on you that you can't do anything and you get paralyzed by overload or fear, kind of like what we're talking about. So, one of the best things I've ever done was when I took that kind of month off, just be like, okay, can I do this? And one thing I didn't let myself do was look around. It was just me
Mm.
and paper, me and ideas. And so I think you kind of have to really put blinders on and limit yourself. And I think the way that you do that is through a couple things, like limit your supplies.
Mm.
Because if you sit in a craft room full of things, it's like, oh my goodness, I can do what, once again, paralyzed. So I would say limit what you're intaking. Your output has to be more than your input. Okay.
Mm.
So um, that means you need, before you let yourself take anything else in, you have to put a little bit out. Limit your supplies. So get a little tote or a bag and just put, some of your favorite supplies in it. And that's what you work out of for, give yourself a time limit, a week, a month, or whatever that looks like. So limit your what you're looking at, limit your supplies. Um, and then I would say one of the best things to do is to work small.
Mm.
Um, because if you're really just trying to get started or develop a habit or get into some kind of rhythm, you need wins. You need to be able to finish something. You need to be able to um, have that kind of like sense of accomplishment, I think. And so
Mhm.
for me, I have a couple of little books. I have one somewhere that I cannot find lately, but like I have a little, I just bought this the other day because I saw it and I was like, that is so cute.
That
But
is
like,
so cute.
something little, you can make your own or you can buy little books, but something like this page is so much less intimidating than, an 8.5 by 11 sheet or a big 12 by 18, sheet of paper. And so I think if you do limit your things in your creative time with the Lord, and then whatever works for you, if it's like me opening the Bible to a random page or following a reading plan or something that you want to try to match that, where you can have a creative outlet from God's word. That's kind of like where I think you could start. But the limitations are really what I think is the most helpful for me anyway. Did
And
that
again,
answer your
it's
question?
actually
I don't even
honing
know if
in on
that
this. Oh, sorry.
did that answer your question? I don't know.
Sure, it's actually honing in on the small details.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
wonderful. Yeah,
I'm not making it harder than it needs to be, you know. Well, don't we all?
we all do that, don't we? Yes. All right.
Yes.
All right, Kim. So thank you so much for today. Could you please tell the listeners where they can find you?
Yes. KimPepper.com is my website, and pretty much everything is there. I'm on all the social medias, Kim Pepper Creative. If it's not Kim Pepper, it's Kim Pepper Creative on Instagram and Facebook. And I have courses. I have the Creative Faith Club membership, like a community that you talked about a little bit. And I do 2 events a year, Faith Fest and then Artistic Advent. So those are kind of 2 collaborative events that are really fun with guest teachers and I don't know, just 2 of my kind of favorite things. So yeah, that's all the places you can come check it out.
All right, wonderful. I'll put the links below. And I thank you for your time today. I appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Oh,
You're a gem.
thanks.
So
Oh, thanks.
thank
All right.
you.
Bye.
Bye.